Hello everybody, I am back. So today I thought I would get our jet airline transport rating. This is done in the 737. When I originally recorded this, I had an issue with the recording, so I'm doing a voiceover. I had Winston on my lap that evening, and he was helping me pass my check ride as my co-pilot. So this check ride went fairly, had a couple of issues when we first started. There was some mapping issues with the reverse thrust and a couple of other things that I diagnosed and fixed. And I'll go over those when we see them in the video.
Perfect weather for a flight out of nice Côte d'Azur, don't you think?
We're in nice France.
And we're cleared for takeoff.
It'll be interesting when the large language models gets to pronounce things in the way that they're supposed to be. I noticed that in the other video where we flew a medevac mission in France. They kind of were butchering the French language a bit. I can imagine how it is if we flew in India or Russia or someplace. Maybe we should do that just to see what the ATC calls things.
I'll take the controls. But first, check the FMC to look at our reference speeds. I've already typed in all the necessary data. Rotation speed, or VR, is at 129 knots. I'll call out when we reach it. V1 is the speed under which you still can cancel your takeoff in case of a technical issue. V2 is the speed beyond which it is safe to take off even under a technical issue. Take a look at the PFD now. Once we hit VR, you just need to initiate a gentle rotation by pulling back on a yoke. The flight director is represented by a magenta crosshair on your PFD. Stay aligned with it for an optimal takeoff attitude. Next, let's review the thrust levers. As you can see, you have two thrust levers, one for each engine. One thing to be aware of during takeoff is for both engines to be stable and at the same value. Once you've made sure of that, you can press the toggle button to let the auto throttle take over. Now, let's monitor the engine parameters. On top of the MFD screen, you can see the engine's RPM. Make sure that they are always at the same level. Whenever you are ready to take off, go ahead and remove the parking brake. Okay, we're ready to go. Apply half forward yoke. Then gently move both thrust levers to 40%. Once you see that both engines are equal and stable, press the toggle button located underneath the main handle on the thrust lever.
I'm unsure what that alarm is for. But it didn't seem to hurt anything.
Use the rudder to keep us on the center line. Rotate, 80. Positive climb, gear up.
So I didn't push the toga button, which may be what that was. I just advanced the throttles.
Ground level. Then, activate the autopilot. You can now engage the autopilot. To do so, press the autopilot command and level change buttons.
And this is when we still had a porpoising issue with the autopilot. The trim was too aggressive and would porpoise the airplane. But I think that I haven't noticed that on the last couple of flights I've done in the 737, so they may have adjusted that. Alright, looks like we're going to do a landing. And they're talking about the Pappy glide slope.
For a visual landing approach into Nice Côte d'Azur. Auto throttle is going to handle power management, so our main objective is to control the pitch to stay on the glide slope. Look to the right of the runway at the 4 colored lights called Poppy. They'll give feedback to stay within a 3-degree glide slope all the way down. If the Poppy shows 2 white lights and 2 reds, then we're on target. For white lights mean we're too high. For red means we're too low. At 20 feet, pull back on the yoke to kiss the runway, but be careful to avoid a tail strike. You only need to use the yoke when you want to make attitude adjustments. Alright, as long as auto throttle is on, the speed will be automatically managed. Just keep making small adjustments to pitch and roll as necessary. See the screw on the dash above the PFD. Use that as a guideline to keep us centered on the runway.
When I did this approach, I was not used to the auto throttle, and I typically turn it off when I had done approaches in the 737 before. I just found that I had better control when I manually manipulated the power settings. But it takes a little bit of getting used to if you haven't flown complex airplanes like this. And it was giving me such problems, I just went and flicked the auto throttle off.
1,000. Light slow, light slow, light slow, light slow, light slow, light slow.
And here I'm increasing power to recapture the glide slope. The reason why we're stalling is we need to increase our flaps more in order to lower our stall speed, because we're getting too close to our stall speed at 140 knots. So I increased us to full flaps. And we're a bit high on the glide slope, so we need to reduce power and pitch for airspeed to bring us back down to capture it.
Close to the threshold. Now shift your focus down to the end of the runway. Listen for the computer calling out retard. Then set thrust to idle.
200.
And we're coming in pretty low and shallow. The Pappy's reading 4 red, but we'll be all right. So I started to float down the runway a little bit in ground effect. But that was a pretty smooth landing for my first time doing it.
Spoilers and auto brakes are activated.
And the nose comes down and we are good.
That was excellent.
All right, are we ready for the check ride? So the check ride was a little bit different as it made you do a go around.
You've done great so far. Now, show me how you handle the final parts of this flight, and you'll be on your way to becoming an airline or jet pilot. As you know, we are not going to perform your typical landing today. We will be simulating an emergency procedure instead. Keep flying, as if you were going to land normally for now.
All right, so let's get ready for landing. We got landing gear down, increasing our flaps, we'll reduce our speed. Auto throttle's off.
Start the go-around procedure once you reach 300 feet altitude in front of the runway.
Alright, we reduce our flaps, we go full power, level the nose to pick up speed. And then we fly runway heading until it's safe for us to execute our right turn. And we're going to begin our right turn to climb to our go-around altitude. Looks like we got a little bit too high. And we'll turn to our heading. Autopilot's engaged. And I think that's another check ride in the bag.
Impressive flying. You've got your specialization, and I have no doubt that you will make for a great jet airliner pilot.
Alright, let's see how we did. Looks like we got an A, and that's another rating in the bag. Thanks for watching.